I'm Ezra Levant. Welcome to The Rebel. The Islamic State terrorist group has spread. It used to be called the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS, but it's far beyond Iraq and Syria now. It's in Libya. Look at how far away Libya is from Iraq and Syria. It is in a different continent. And it's not just a couple of lone wolves. It's a large force. And they put on a show of force in their trademark barbarism the other day. They lined up 21 Coptic Christians and slit their throats. It was a mass murder, Islamic State style. They chose these Coptic Christians, of course, because they are Christians. They are a minority in North Africa. It is not random. They were chosen specifically because they are Christians and killed for that specific reason. But the U.S. administration merely called them Egyptian citizens, as if they were random Egyptians. That's like saying when Barack Obama said that 4 Jews were killed at a kosher grocery store in Paris last month, they were random victims. Random, Obama actually said that. But back to North Africa, to Libya, just a couple of 100 kilometers across the Mediterranean Sea from Italy. Italy and Libya are close geographically, historically, commercially. This is just across the sea from Italy and from the Vatican. Now, most people think that Vatican City is kind of a joke, the world's smallest country, I suppose, answer to a trivia question. It's a laugh, right? A historical anachronism. Well, the Islamic State believes in turning back the clock 1,400 years. They think very much about Christians and Jews and infidels and converting the world to a Muslim theocracy. Frankly, I'm surprised there hasn't been an Islamic State terrorist attack on the Vatican yet, the symbol of Christianity, or at least Catholicism. Many of the world's greatest mosques used to be the world's greatest churches. The famous Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, Turkey, was once a Greek Orthodox church. It was conquered by Muslim soldiers, every Christian slaughtered, and then turned into a mosque. That's the Muslim extremist way, going back centuries. Do you doubt the Islamic State has the same fantasy about the Vatican turning it into a mosque? The Hagia Sophia is gorgeous. Imagine doing that to the Vatican itself. I know it sounds crazy to our modern secular ears, but these are people who rape children, behead Christians, burn apostates in cages. They're savages, and we don't get that they are. Say, what are they doing in Libya? What's part of their plans for global dominance? Here is an Islamic State map of their desired territory, the lands they want to conquer. They're doing it. They are doing their plan. That's what they're doing. But how did they get in there? Well, we're actually partly to blame. In 2011, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton led an attack on Libya's dictator, Muammar Gaddafi, and we went along. Canadians sent a warship and fighter jets. We went along because we are a loyal ally to the United States. But what on earth was our national interest there? Muammar Gaddafi was not a terrorist. He certainly used to be. He was implicated in the terrorist attack that blew up a jet plane over Lockerbie, Scotland in 1988, killing 270 people. But in 2003, Gaddafi had confessed to that, paid billions of dollars in compensation. I'm certainly not forgiving him. It's not for me to forgive, but have you ever heard of a terrorist admitting he had done something evil, confessing to it, paying reparations, and trying to come around to the right side of history, giving up his weapons of mass destruction program, and generally asking to switch sides from those of nasty, brutal dictators to slightly less nasty, less brutal dictators, taking our side against Islamic terrorists? That's Gaddafi. Not a good guy, but in that part of the world, he was certainly not one of the worst of the bad guys. But Obama and Clinton wanted to take him out, and so they did, joining forces with, you guessed it, local Muslim mujahideen. NATO provided the air power. The mujahideen provided the ground troops that killed him. Here's Hillary Clinton boasting about that.
Unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
Well done. But the trouble with killing a strong man is that if you don't have anyone to replace him, well, others will fill the void. NATO is good at droning things, but shy about troops on the ground. So here we are 4 years later, and the NATO Air Force that cleared out Gaddafi merely made space for the Islamic State boots on the ground. We knew this was going to happen. Back in 2012, when al-Qaeda terrorists torched the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, and the U.S. didn't do anything to stop it, are you surprised that it's worse today in 2015 that the Islamic State is strong on the ground there? Do you think that will be the last domino to fall in the region? Meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama played his 3rd golf game last week. Oh, and he did this selfie video on purpose. This is the image that the U.S. President and his advisors choose to send to the world as 21 Christians had their heads cut off at the neck. Well, while Obama was busy golfing and taking loving pictures of himself, one of his top spokesmen, Marie Harf of the State Department, went on a liberal TV show, Hardball with Chris Matthews, on MSNBC, so about as friendly as it gets for Obama. But Chris Matthews sees what we all see. The Islamic State is growing and getting bolder. He started asking some basic questions like, after such a pitiful show, not just symbolically, but also militarily, why would the Islamic State terrorists be afraid of Obama at all? In other words, aren't they winning?
If I were ISIS, I wouldn't be afraid right now. I didn't figure there's no existential threat to these people. They can keep finding places where they can hold executions and putting the camera work together, getting their props ready, and killing people for show. And nothing we do right now seems to be directed at stopping this.
Well, I think there's a few stages here. Right now what we're doing is trying to take their leaders and their fighters off the battlefield in Iraq and in Syria. That's really where they flourish.
Are we killing enough of them?
We're killing a lot of them, and we're going to keep killing more of them. So are the Egyptians, so are the Jordanians. They're in this fight with us. But we cannot win this war by killing them. We cannot kill our way out of this war.
Hang on. So you're not going to win a war by killing the other side? Isn't that pretty much what a war is? If there was no killing, it would be diplomacy, right? It would be politics then. The reason killing is necessary is because the Islamic State is impervious to diplomacy or negotiation or compromise. They don't believe we should even exist. They don't believe in the concept of nation states. They only believe in an Islamic State loyal only to Allah. That's why they're killing anyone who isn't Muslim. But don't tell that to the Obama administration. All we need to do is look for the secret, deep motivation behind all this head hacking.
We need, in the longer term, medium and longer term, to go after the root causes that leads people to join these groups, whether it's lack of opportunity for jobs.
We're not going to be able to stop that in our lifetime or 50 lifetimes. There's always going to be poor people. There's always going to be poor Muslims. And as long as there are poor Muslims, the trumpet's blowing. They'll join. We can't stop that, can we?
We can work with countries around the world to help improve their governance. We can help them build their economy so they can have job opportunities for these people. You're right. There is no easy solution in the long term to preventing and combating violent extremism. But if we can help countries work at the root causes of this, what makes these 17-year-old kids pick up an AK-47 instead of try to start a business? Maybe we can try to chip away at this problem.
So that's why young Muslim men are flocking to the Islamic State, to become terrorists as a job opportunity. So those are pretty much the two choices they face. Get a job at Tim Hortons, and if that's not available, buy a plane ticket to Syria and become a terrorist. Poverty? Is poverty the source of terrorism? If so, why isn't Newfoundland a terrorist state? Why isn't Greece a terrorist state? Poverty? Osama bin Laden was from one of the richest families in Saudi Arabia. Poverty? Jobs? Really? It's not a surprise that the Obama administration thinks that the motivation behind terrorism is poverty, or that we can solve poverty around the world with some good community organizing. If Obama himself won't acknowledge that the Islamic State is Islamic, and that its victims are specifically Jews, Christians, and apostate Muslims, if it can't admit it's losing a war, if it can't admit it's even in a war, yeah, it's no surprise that Obama is on the golf course or taking selfies while the spokesman from the Delta, Delta, Delta sorority tells the world all the terrorists need is a little love.